What's up, everybody?
Hey, welcome to the Brewing Business Show, and I am so glad that you guys are here with us in our first episode. But guys, beyond the first episode, we actually have a pretty badass first guest with us today. We're gonna be talking about core values, and the guy next to me is someone who have mastered the art of the core values, and he's also been running businesses since 2001, and he is the co-founder of a leading company in the GPS um, industry, top class installation. But he's also a business coach and the author of the best-selling book Unfuck Your Business. And today he's going to be sharing with us how important it is to implement core values in your business, and not only in your business but in your life as well. And he actually is going to help us unfuck your business too. So welcome, Thomas. I'm glad that you're here, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
man. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be the first guest. I appreciate the studio setup that we're in here today over at Break Free Academy.
I know, man. I have to say thank you to Break Free Academy. Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome. This place is cool. Good people here, and you know that already. But yeah, man, I'm excited to get in here and dive in, talk about some core values and why they're so important to one's business, one's life, and the decisions that you make every day. And you know, if you want to dive in, we could talk a little bit about my story and some of the crap that I've been through and what pushed me to go out and start understanding what core values are and why you need them in business.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, because I have a couple people asking me like, so what the GPS company has to do with the craft beer industry, right? But you know, business is business, and
that's just it. Well, speaking of craft beer, here's
yeah,
some craft beer.
yeah, cheers. So I think beyond that, it is your experience running businesses and how you can actually help implement something different to grow your business. So yeah, tell us a little about your story and your background so people can
Sure.
get to know you better.
So I mean, look, like you said, business is business, right? And I didn't know that. So I started my first business when I was 21 years old, and I was a technician. So I knew how to do my job really, really well. And my backstory is I come from the car audio industry. I was doing custom car audio, building custom fabrication, trunks, audio systems, amplifiers, all that kind of crap. And I knew the trade really well. And I said, oh, one day I got this hair up my ass. I quit my job. And, you know, a couple months passed. The business, I got a brick and mortar facility. I've got a couple people working for me. I know how to do the job really well, but I didn't know that, oh shit, we got marketing we got to worry about. We have sales. Oh, you need a point of sale software.
Right.
You need something like QuickBooks to record. I didn't know. You know, oh, we have to order products and supplies. All right, well, how do we pay for them?
Right.
None of it. Bookkeeping, accounting. I had no idea of all of this other stuff. And each of these parts was equally important to effectively run the business. So I wound up taking a bath in that business bad. You know, went in 5 years and wound up, you know, losing that business, and I left it in over $80,000 worth of personal debt.
Oh, wow.
So I went to work for someone for a couple of years, got back on my feet, started Top Class Installations with my co-founder and business partner Jimmy Gonzalez. So September of 2009, we just hit 10 years. I'm sorry. So September of 2019, we hit 10 years because we started in 2009, which is really cool. So it's a good milestone for us. And if you know anything about the business statistics, which I do mention in my book, most businesses don't make it that far.
Right.
So by, you know, getting to that threshold for us was like, all right, cool. We're one of the lucky ones, which is awesome. But we struggled awfully the first couple of years of our business. We were the yes people.
Okay.
So we were like, you know, hey, you would come to me and say, hey, I want this done. Yeah, no problem, I can do it. Because I had the skill set to do it. But the problem was we had no focus. And we didn't get ultra clear and get focused until we determined our core values. And then let me go a little broader here, because it's not just core values, okay? So in the book here, I talk about also the vision, right? So each company needs a vision implemented in order to become the most elite versions of themselves as a company. So the vision, in my opinion, is three things, and they're equally important. You've got core values, you've got your mission statement, which is your goal, pretty much, your big, hairy, audacious goal. What do you do as a bug in front of me? Oh shit. What are you doing? Okay, and you have to put numbers to it that are obtainable. And then your purpose. Why are you in business? Why did you create this business? And it can't be to make money, because that's just a cop out and everyone would say it.
Right.
So those three things, those three pillars make up the vision. Clear on the core values first, and the other two pieces of the vision followed it. The purpose and the mission statement followed once we got clear on the core values. By getting clear on the core values, we also determined very quickly, all right, well, you know what? We have to stop being the yes men, because not all business is good business. Right? And we got ultra clear and said, okay, we need to focus on this right here, because this right here is where the profit is. This right here is going to allow us to grow and scale the business. And that's what we did. So we got clear on those core values, and we started implementing throughout the organization. So now we leverage core values for hiring.
Right.
So when someone's coming through the hiring process, we are seeing if their values align with us as an organization. Because if they don't align up front, I don't care what the skill set of that person is, they're not going to fit. They're not going to fit the culture of the company. And they're going to cause more problems and more grief and aggravation than they're worth.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And when I read your book, that's one of the things that really opened my eyes, because, when I started the marketing brewing company, for example, I have my habits from college when I went to, okay, I want to start this new company. Like, what's going to be my mission and vision, right?
Yeah.
How they teach you back in college.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I hear about the core values, I don't really pay attention to that at that moment. And then when I read your book, I realized why so many things haven't worked in the way I wanted, in not only in business, but in life as well, Like you were saying, for the hiring process, for with who I want to work with, my vendors, my distributors, the people that I'm going to outsource some of my work and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it is something that definitely can change the way you do your business, and I think it's something that can benefit the way the craft beer industry can apply this into
Totally,
right?
Totally. I mean, it applies to everything in business. So when it comes to core values, let's talk about vendors for a second, because any business you're in, you're going to deal with a vendor of some sort, right?
Yeah.
We look at our core values, and we want to see that our vendors also align with our core values. If the vendor doesn't align with the core values, I don't care what they're offering. It's something is going to get fucked up in the process if you guys aren't on the same page as far as values are concerned.
Right.
And in my experience, it's just not even worth doing any business with that person, that vendor, that company, whatever the case is. You're better off saying, hey, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. And being a little bit more patient and waiting for the right opportunity to come along.
Right.
And without the value set in place for you to say, all right, do these fit? Do these fit? Do these fit? Like, you don't have the values laid out and you're not clear on them, you're going to hit nothing but problems.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you're totally right. And you also mentioned about, so tell us a little bit more about how you do the hiring process.
Sure.
Because I'm sure, I know the brewers owners, they have to hire different people for operations, for the brewery, the bartenders, people that will serve in the tap room, and all that kind of stuff.
So when it comes down to hiring, you have to document the hiring process. And let's just slow down here a second, because most people are like, oh my God, documentation. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be done. Done is better than perfect.
Right.
Okay? You could write this down in a Word document, and I don't care what you're using. Just document the process so that at some point you can begin delegating this out to someone on your team other than yourself. That's very important. It can't always be you, because otherwise you're going to wind up roadblocking your business, which is a whole other discussion. We can go down if you want. All right. But going back to the hiring process, document the process. Okay, and it's going to evolve and change over time, because you're going to get better at what you do. Right. So let me give you some of the stuff that we do over at Top Class Installations. We'll put an ad on Indeed. Okay, and in Indeed or ZipRecruiter or any of those kind of hiring platforms or software tools, they give you, or they give the person who's applying for the job, hey, here's a link, upload your resume to this, and it gives you a pretty nice interface to interact with that person.
Right.
We basically say, no, we're not using that. We're going to use Indeed, but in the copy of the job ad, we're going to bullet it out. We're going to make it nice. Going to make it, something that's easy to read.
Right.
And at the very bottom, we're going to say, hey, if you really want this job over here at Top Class Installations, I need you to send an email to this specific email address with this exact subject line, and then attach your resume to this.
Right.
So what we're doing essentially here is we're creating hoops, hiring hoops. And we're making people jump through these hoops. So this is the first hoop that normally trips up probably 85 to 90% of the applicants. So if you don't follow my clear-cut directions from the get-go, I don't even pick up the phone, I don't respond to an email, you are done. Have a nice day, because you can't read, you can't follow very simple directions.
Right.
So we eliminate a lot of the, I'll call it the bullshit, from the hiring process.
Yeah.
Right there with that initial hoop. Now, if the person does do what they said or do what we asked, then the hiring process moves forward. And each stage of the process has some form of a hoop built into it.
Right.
So step number 2 is they get on a phone call with someone from my team, and this person then does a phone assessment.
Okay.
Ask them some simple questions. If that person shows up late, you're done.
Right.
And the questions that we have built into that phone assessment are based upon our core values.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to extract the core value data from that applicant right then and there up front. So now if my employee who's running the hiring at that point says, hey, you know what, this person's a good fit, they then get moved on to the next stage. So typically in my business, we're hiring installation technicians. That's the number one role that we hire for. So the installation technician then goes and we schedule a date for the install tech or the potential install tech to go in the field with our installation manager for an on-site assessment. Hey, we want to check you out in person. We want to see how you are. We want to make sure that your skill set is at a certain level. We will train you, but you can't know nothing. You have to know a little bit.
Right.
I want to make sure you show up on time. I want to make sure that you're presentable. I want to make sure that you do what you said you're going to do when you said you're going to do it.
Right.
All right. If that person then gets the thumbs up from there, then they move on and we present an offer. But each of these stages has these hoops built in,
right.
And we are pretty much saying, hey, you know what, applicant, eliminate yourself. And if they eliminate themselves, fine. It's just less time that we have to spend reading through resumes and whatnot. Because reading through resumes, in my opinion, is a waste of time.
Yeah. And it saves you, I'm sure it saves you a lot of money as well.
Sure.
Because you don't have to deal with people that you don't want to have in your business.
Listen, man, if you really want some disheartening information, okay, Google bad hiring calculators. Okay, go in there and say, it's like, terminology usually, bad hires or bad hiring calculators.
Right.
You will get an Excel spreadsheet or multiple versions of an Excel spreadsheet where you can go in there and you can say, this is what I spent on advertising, this is what I spent on shirts and outfitting the person, hats and whatnot. This is what I spent on training for this technician or this employee. And the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet kicks out a number to you, and it is not a nice number.
Oh, really?
No, it's not a nice number. And yeah, it's not. I mean, you would love to make that money, but it's not a nice number. What a bad hire costs you and your organization is absolutely, it's disgusting.
Right.
So we had the whole thing that fired us off in my business is we had 3 back-to-back hires that were complete dog shit.
Wow.
So we were in a jam. We needed to get installation technicians in to start doing work for us. And these guys came in and they had the skill set, but they didn't have the values.
Right.
So not one of these people lasted more than 90 days. Because 90 days is right around the point in time when someone really starts to show their true colors.
Right.
Like, I meet you for the first time and I'm on my best behavior. You go out on that date with a girl for the first time, you're on your best behavior. You meet her parents for the first time, you're really on your best behavior, right? So now all of a sudden, you're 90 days in, you're comfortable as a human around these other people, and now the natural you starts to come out.
They start showing your true colors.
Yeah, that's what ends up happening, and it's not just the employees in life. Obviously, there's a lot of areas it applies to, but we see this with employees that come through. So around that 90-day mark is when it's like, all right, so usually we'll have an assessment at that 90-day mark as well.
Right.
So we'll come back in as a team, we'll meet with that person and say, all right, this is what we discussed in day 1, this is where we expect you to be here, and, are we good?
Absolutely.
If we're good, cool, we'll move on. And if not, it's not to cut ties.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the reason why I wanted you to talk about this on our first episode is because from part of the research that I've been doing in the industry, the people in the craft beer industry is so passionate about what they do, and most of them, when I talk to brewery owners, they want to brew beer all day long, which I totally support that, right? And at the same time, it's like I love that, but you guys need to take care of the business part if you really want to do that for the rest of your lives, right? And when I first started hearing again about the core values through your book, years before I thought it was just like something nice to hang on the wall and like, oh, these are my core values. But when you dig into the importance of these core values, it can actually change someone's business. It doesn't necessarily need to be somebody who's starting. You can start implementing right now, even you being 5, 10, 20 years in business, right?
Sure.
Especially if you haven't passed that mark where business still fails, right?
Yeah, listen, I was, we were 5 or 6 years into Top Class being an established business before we even knew what core values were. It was like, oh, wow, we really need them. Yeah. So it's not too late. So I don't care how many years you've been in business. And if you don't have core values established, get to it today, because it's going to change your business. It's going to allow you to implement culture into your business. It's going to allow you to bring the right people onto your team. And listen, a lot of times as business owners, we are given an opportunity to hire somebody and they fit the values, they fit the skill set, and yet they don't fit the budget.
Right.
So it's like, oh, what do we do? That's when you got to go back and you got to look at your core values. Your core values are going to tell you or give you direction towards the right answer that you need.
Right.
And also the vision overall. So what's my mission as a company? So my mission over here at Top Class Installations is to complete 1 million GPS tracking and/or dash camera installs by 2025.
That's a good mark.
It's a huge number. And we call it a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, because it scares the shit out of me even mentioning those numbers to you. It's supposed to. It's supposed to scare us.
It's supposed to, yeah.
So you bring this person in, or you have this opportunity, and it's like, okay, I don't have the budget for it. The person fits the values. They have a decent skill set. But if I hire them, will it allow us to obtain that goal?
Right.
And you got to roll the dice sometimes. There's a guy here in Dallas. His name's Matt Monero. He owns Commercial Fleet Financing. Mm-hmm. Okay, guy I highly respect. I know that Ryan Stewman knows him well. He's also a fellow author, and he's just a stud. I mean, like, the guy flat out told me when I asked him a similar question about this a couple months back. He goes, sometimes you just gotta grab your what and your wallet at the same time and just let it roll.
Right.
And it's just the truth. I mean, sometimes things don't make sense on paper, yet that, hey, you know what, I got to go and do this because it's going to be big.
Right. And it can change everything.
Yeah.
And because I know that, like, for example, you said that you implemented this 5-6 years into business, right?
Yep.
And I know that in your book you give I believe that's one of a nugget there when you talk about how you, after the 90 days or every 3 or 6 months or every quarter, I think, that you make assessments to every single
quarterly
employee, and you involve everybody else in your company on that decision making. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So once a quarter, we go in and we reassess the core values of each person. We want to make sure that they are hitting those values. So we actually built a custom Excel spreadsheet that allows us to keep track of everything quarterly. If anybody wants it, you can simply go to tomaskeenan.com. There's a book goodies tab there. Click it, download it, and it's going to give you the information that's in my book, the stuff that I talk about here. It's free. There's nothing, no hidden sales there, none of that junk. I'm just trying to give information out to help people succeed in business, because that's my personal purpose, by the way. A little side tangent there, but it's really important stuff, man, for real.
No, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, for the little that I've been implementing so far in my company, I mean, it's been changing the way I'm looking at people that I want to work with. I know that I'm not going to be suited for everybody else out there in the craft beer industry, but it's helping attract the right people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very important when you, like I said at the beginning, like, if you're running a business, you have to make sure you have the right people working for you. Having the right relationships with your distributors in the case of the craft beer industry.
You get clear on what you're about and why you're here as a business, and you're going to start. It's like it's magical almost. You're gonna magically start attracting the right people to your organization. I don't care what business you're in.
Right.
Whether it's craft beer, car audio, or business coaching, that's just the way it works.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And tell us a little bit more about how you can start implementing these core values, how you can define your core values.
Sure. So the link that I just gave here, tomaskeenan.com, the book goodies, if you download that, there'll be a couple of emails in there as well that give people worksheets on exactly what to do. I mean, I lay out a step-by-step process. There's a list. I know you've been through it personally because you and I had a couple conversations around it. There's an Excel file with a list that just gives you a bunch of words as a starting point that says, hey, use these as a base and start working off of this. Take this list, you fill it out, give it to your wife, give it to your employees, give it to people that work for you, and let them circle the words that they best feel describe you as an organization or your organization.
Right.
And at the end of that process, take all of those sheets, bring them in and say, all right, you know, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. You notice, like, for us, communication kept getting circled and circled and circled. It's like, holy shit. Well, you know what? Let's talk about communication as a core value a little bit more. And we started digging into it, my partner and myself, and we're like, you know what? Without communication, we're dead as a business. It's like, all right, boom, that's a core value. It wasn't that quick. Don't get me wrong. It took us about 6 months to really get clear on what we're about. I also want to make sure I put a point here. Whatever values you have now, like, shit's gonna change.
Right.
So we went from having 7 core values, and this November we went back we locked ourselves into a room for 48 hours pretty much. And I was like, you know what? This shit's too much. So I got 7 values, and my team is having trouble memorizing the core values. And that's key. Your employees, and you must memorize the core values. You got to know what they are.
Right.
So we dropped down from 7 core values to 4. And it just made it easier for my team to understand.
And how that work for you now?
It's, you know, we have an acronym, it's called CP2, or CP squared. So it's communication, professionalism, profitability.
Right.
You know, it's like you have these core values there, everyone knows them. We have a nice infographic that's made. We talk about it. Now, every opportunity as a leader within your company, you want to turn into a coachable moment.
Right.
And you always want to reference back to the core value. So whether your employee is doing something positive or negative, you're going to reference the core value.
Right.
You know, so like, I'll give you a story from today. One of my installation coordinators calls me up. Actually, we use Slack. He sends me a message in Slack, and he's like, hey, we got this new vendor we're working with. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, look, listen, this is what I need you to do. Send XYZ email to this person, and we'll see what happens. So the guy goes, he sends this badass email out, right? It was like, oh my God, like he nailed the email. Like the copy in the email was perfect. So I shoot him a message, like, Chris, man, awesome job today. That was an amazing core value. That was an amazing email, and you clearly displayed that you live by our core value of communication.
Right.
You know, so if he had sent a shitty email, think about it. You know, hey man, I hate to be a ball buster, but you could have done this better. This is what I would have done, and you know, just a reminder. Communication is one of our core values of the company, so I expect you to be better at this next time.
Right.
That would have been the inverse of the flip side.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. That's a really good story.
Yeah.
And because when you were talking also about your story, and I think we all been there, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people in the craft beer industry at this point in time, they're still there working 15, 16 hours a day, you know, and like, let's be honest, like if you are working like that, you don't own a business, like you said, right?
No.
You own a job.
You own a job.
And if you want to make sure that you own a business, that's kind of like your ticket to brew beer all day long, right?
Yep.
So, and you were saying, you at the beginning when you started your first business, right? You were working 16 hours a day.
16, 20-hour days on 6-7 days a week.
You got sick, right?
Yeah.
And you were not really having a life.
Yep.
But once you started, and even when you started your business, top class installation, kind of like
It's the same thing.
Right?
We started the same way that I started my first business. I didn't know any better.
Right. So when you start implementing this, how do you experience that transition from going from 16 hours and working in a business and start working on your business?
Yeah, so one of the most important things I do with every one of my personal coaching clients that I go through, one of the first things that we do is we do a 2-week long time study.
Right.
Okay, and I've got an exercise called time buckets, right? So we go through this time study, and this is all included in that same link that I just told. It's TomasKeenan.com.
We're gonna be sure we drop the link.
Goodies. Okay, you can get all this stuff free there. In there, it's a 2-week long time study. This time study basically says, hey, I need you to break down everything that you do in your life, personal and business, into 15-minute increments for 2 weeks.
Right.
The reason it's 2 weeks is because, it's going back to the conversation we just had, for the first week, you're going to be on your best behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And week 2, you're going to be like, oh, fuck. And the true you is going to come out.
Yeah.
So that's why we do the time study for 2 weeks. Now, everyone gets, all bent out of shape. I'm like, like, oh my God, every 15 minutes, I got to write down what we're doing. No, slow down, relax. Like, let's be reasonable here. Write down what you're doing. I don't care if you put it into a calendar app, whether it's, a Gmail calendar, your iCal. I don't care what you use. I don't care if you use a scrap piece of paper.
Right.
When you have time, when time prevails that day, go back in and say, all right, what did I do at 9 o'clock this morning? From 9 to 9:15, I did this. And listen, if you were in a meeting from 9 to 10, just block out, I was in a meeting. You don't have to write that 4 times. But enter this information, and you're going to record everything you do for 2 weeks. Okay?
Right.
It's super important. I'm stressing on this for a reason.
Right.
The next step of the process is we're going to take that 2-week-long time study, and we're going to assign the activity that you did into the correct bucket. Now, there's 4 buckets in the time bucket, right? The first bucket is $10 an hour tasks. Mm-hmm. The second one is $100 per hour. The third is $1,000 per hour, and the fourth final one is $10,000 per hour tasks.
Right.
Okay. I got a video on YouTube that breaks this down pretty good too. The $10 and $100 an hour tasks are imperative to your business's success. However, as a business owner, they're not for you to do. You need to get to a point where you can delegate those tasks off to somebody else, because ultimately, as a business owner, you are going to be making multiple 6 figures.
Right.
Or greater a year. Your time is worth way more than a $10 an hour task. So if you're sending out an invoice to a customer, if you're calling someone to follow up, like, listen, at first, when you first start that business, you need to do it. It has to be you. There is nobody else. However, you got to get to a point where it isn't you anymore. My first business, I never got to that point. And the story you're referring to is I packed on a lot of weight because of added stress and whatnot. I wound up hurting my back really bad.
Right.
I had multiple slip discs in my back, and I wound up laying in bed for 3 weeks. And that right there, so I was the only person who was capable of generating revenue for my business, even though I had employees. And it was all my fault because I built it that way. I was the roadblock in the organization. So I go into bed for 3 weeks. I come back, and guess, is there a business left? It was like hanging on by a string, dude. It took a couple more weeks, and it was over with. Right?
Yeah.
So business 2, okay, fast forward, we get clear on core values. We get clear on the mission. We get clear on our purpose. We go from a team of 4 people to a team of 20 people, okay?
Right.
Force of average comes at me again and says, hey, your 6-month-old twin son has an intestinal blockage. All of a sudden,
wow,
dude, what the fuck? Like, what do you do?
Right.
If I didn't have structure in my business, if I hadn't built my business to operate without me on a day-to-day basis, it would have been done.
Yeah.
So I had to walk away from my business again for 3 weeks. Literally, close the laptop, shut the phone off. I got to go focus on my family.
Right.
So if my business wasn't built to operate without me, I would have burned business number 2 at that point.
Which wouldn't be fun. Fuck no.
No.
Right?
Listen, nobody sets out or starts a business to fail.
Yeah.
Like, we all want the American dream here, which is to succeed and make money and leave a legacy for our families.
Absolutely.
And as a new business owner or someone who's just a technician within your business, you have this grand idea that's in your head. The problem is it's in your head and only your head.
Right.
You need to extract that information, put it on paper, put it on video, put it on whatever. I don't care where you put it someplace so you can share it with other people. You can't do it all yourself. I don't care how good you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that. And especially, in this time, so, in the craft beer industry, um, it's growing really fast. There's, I think it's over 8,000 breweries operating right now, and at least another 1,000 breweries in planning. So yeah, the market is growing really fast. So obviously, these guys, they need to catch up to do the best business practice in order to survive. Only last year, roughly 300 breweries closed.
Wow.
Last year, because of lack of cash flow and all that stuff.
Sure.
I want you to tell them how not having a set of core values that can actually represent your culture as a business can have an impact in your cash flow and how you do business. And I'm sure that you have even information on how a lack of core values can be attached to the reason why so many businesses fail.
Yeah, sure. So let's hit it first. So just some situations that I've been through personally as a business owner, okay? You start working with a vendor or a supplier, right? And we do a lot of subcontracting in my business. We work for some big players in the GPS. We don't sell any products, so we perform a labor-only service is what we do. So XYZ GPS company goes out there. They sell the hardware to the end user. We show up at the end user's location. We put the hardware into the vehicle. We verify it works, and we say, have a nice day.
Right.
Okay. We've gotten into bed with some vendors who don't fit our core values. And what happens is those people typically are the ones who don't pay us on time.
Right.
Or they always want the discount. They don't want the best quality work. Hey, I need you over at this location tomorrow. It's an emergency. But I need a discount. I need a break on the rate too, even though it's an emergency and I'm sending the guy out on a Sunday. And then, hey, we're on 30-day terms and we're 45 days into it, we're 60 days into it, we're 90 days into it, and I still don't have payment from you.
Right.
So you need to assess, and one of the things I talk about too in my book here is reversing the 80-20 rule. Right? So quarterly, again, as a team. So we meet as a team quarterly, and one of the things we do is we say, all right, we list out, these are all the people we do business with. These people here always pay on time. These people don't. So basically what we're doing is, the 80-20 rule is 20% of your customers produce 80% of your revenue.
Right.
Okay? We look at the bottom 20% of the non-producers, the troublemakers,
right,
and we say, would it really hurt us if we just stopped doing business with them? And 9 times out of 10, we're like, no, they're just a complete fucktard, and this is a waste of time dealing with them. So we say, okay, have a nice email drafted up, shoot it out to them. Hey, big sorry, but moving forward, this date, we're no longer doing business with you. Here's why.
Right.
And it's done. I gotta tell you, we've done that now, probably 7 or 8 times since the first initial person that we cut off. We basically fired them as a customer. 7 or 8 times we've done it now. And it's never an easy decision. You always worry about it. Still to this day as a business owner, I worry about, like, oh man, this might impact cash flow in a negative way. Like, hey, shit, like, yes, they're a pain in the butt to deal with, but they still send us business. It still allows me to take care of this employee. It still puts food on the table for that guy. But every time that we've done it, I instantly know it's the right move because the situation has repeated itself over and over and over again. We'll send the email out, okay, to the contact of that company, and we'll either get 0 response from that person, which tells me everything that I need to know about the situation,
right,
or we'll get a simple response like, okay, like they didn't even fight to keep us.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Bottom line is, okay, as much as I don't want to admit this, they weren't happy with us, and yet we were not happy with them.
Right. So why keep the relationship?
Why keep the relationship?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's like having a wife or a girlfriend who you come home to and you fight with every day. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? It's not why we're here as people. Like, it's not. It's better out there.
Right. And the same apply with your employees and everybody else around your business, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I think most importantly, like you mentioned also in the book, in your life, in your personal life.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally, man.
How your life have changed since you started implementing this in your personal life and with your family?
You get real ultra clear on what's important to you as a human. You realize what you need to prioritize.
Right.
And it also gives you, as people, as we become business owners, as we get, I don't want to sound stuck up here, but you get a little status in your industry, people get to know you, the opportunities start coming in more and more and more and more and more. It's like, oh, come speak at this event, or hey, I need some help with this. Hey, could you hop on a call? I want to pick your brain for an hour.
Right.
And now, since I have very clear-cut core values, I can look at that opportunity,
right,
reference the core values, my personal core values, not my business, my personal values, and say, does that align with what I'm doing here? And if it doesn't align, it's very simple. Hey, big sorry, but I can't help you out. I'm not the right fit for you. But I got a guy for you. Here's his info.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not all business is good business. Not all opportunities are good opportunities. I read a really, really good book. I've mentioned that. I probably mentioned it to you once, twice too. I put it up in a couple of the mastermind groups that we're both involved in. Mm-hmm. And the book is called Essentialism by a guy named Greg McKeown. And it's just a fantastic book. Go read that book. Read mine too, of course. Go read that book. And he just breaks things down in there in such an easy to understand way.
Right.
That not every opportunity is the right opportunity. And you need to focus on like one thing, right? And not do 10 things. Because basically what happens is like you focus on 100 things and you move this far in progression as a human that year.
Right.
Right. Now, get rid of all the fluff and the bullshit and focus on that one thing, and now you moved a mile that year.
Right. Wow. Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that makes total sense, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. Mm-hmm. Because I believe, like I said before, it's been changing the way I'm starting this new company, and that's why I wanted to share with the audience,
yeah,
how this is important for them, especially in an industry that is growing really fast, and it's not stopping anytime soon.
No, it's not. It's a very, very important industry.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is very important industry, of course. That's the reason why we're here, trying to bring this kind of value and help them, having resources and tools so they can have access to more things that they can help them in the business, and not only in business, in life as well, because they're humans too, they have families. I believe that if they started this business because they wanted to provide more to their families, have financial freedom, have employees that have a good salary and stuff like that, and of course, make the best beer in the world.
Yeah, they're passionate about what they are doing. They love it, That's why I started my first business. That's why I started my second business. And this allowed me to really get focused and start focusing and working on the shit that's really important at the end of the day.
Right.
And not do it all. Like Top Class Installation started in September 2009, and we would still take care of that customer that came to us and said, hey, I want a remote start installed. Can you do that? Yeah, no problem. Hey, I got an amplifier and 212s and a sub box. I want that installed in the back of my Acura TL. Can you do that? Yeah, no problem. So we were taking, and this is a really tough pill to swallow. This is a major mindset shift in order for myself and my partner to figure this out and understand it. The problem was this. Those sales, those opportunistic sales would come to us, mm-hmm. and within 3 to 4 hours, we could complete the work and collect the cash instantly.
Right.
Problem is this. It's opportunity cost. While we were too busy taking care of the small potatoes job, we were collecting the $200 to $300 job for those small things. We were not in communication with the GPS tracking providers who had the $30,000 and $40,000 deals they were trying to get scheduled with us.
Wow.
So we're over here collecting what we think is this is good money, man. At 2 hours, I put $300 in my pocket. Like, I don't care how much money you make.
Right.
That's good money to put in your pocket. Cash money, 2 hours of work, boom. I'm never going to see this person again until they want to buy more.
Right.
Okay, but you're neglecting your core business, which circles around your core values. And now I just cost us a $30,000 sale because I was too busy with my head under a dashboard putting a remote start in for $200 or $300.
Yeah, kind of like going after the shiny object when
oh yeah, man,
there's something bigger out there.
Yep.
That you can actually pay attention to it if you know your core values and what you.
Well, it's also this. I know that I can go do that remote start, or I can go brew that blonde, which is a simple thing for us to do, right? I can go there and knock that out in this time and guaranteed I'm going to collect my money.
Right.
The other thing, the $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 opportunity, is a longer sales cycle. It's a longer play. You got to have better systems and processes in place, and you got to work more on the business rather than in the business if you want to ever get that opportunity.
Right. Now that you mentioned something very important, I almost forgot about system and processes.
Sure.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
because you talk about that in your book as well.
Yep.
And how important it is to, and how you actually build your system and processes with your core values based on those, and how it's changed how everything works in your company.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about more about?
Yeah. You know, I mentioned earlier that as the business owner, as the visionary, you need to get the inner genius out of your brain and onto paper. And that's what we're talking about with systems and processes.
Right.
Essentially, right? So it's like, whether you know it or not, whatever it is that you do in your business on a day-to-day, you have a system and you have a process. Whether it's documented or not, doesn't make a difference. But I'm going to relate it to my business, and I'll try to relate it to the craft brewing business. So if somebody is going to brew a blonde, like we're drinking here today, they know the exact steps, the exact amounts of whatever they have to put in and make this thing happen in order to create this beer. They know it from step 1 to 10,
Right.
or 1 to 30, whatever it is. Okay, they know it. Okay, the problem is your employee who you're hiring, he doesn't know it, she doesn't know it, and you want it done a certain way because you're a picky individual, you're a creative person, right? And if you don't have it documented exactly how you want to do it, and hey, this is the end result we're after, how are they going to know?
Right.
How are you ever going to bring more people onto your team and train them in an effective way and in a reasonable amount of time too? So the problem with us was we started, right? We have a very skilled trade as installation technicians, so we install mobile electronics into any year, make, and model vehicle that's on the road, whether it's construction equipment, over-the-road tractor trailers, passenger vehicles, commercial, you name it, we touch it.
Right.
Cranes, I mean, literally anything you can think of. If it's got a battery and an engine, we've worked on it.
Right.
Okay, so it takes a very skilled technician to go out there and do that work. So you gotta give that person some direction. And without the direction, they're screwed, man. So when we used to bring people on, our first couple of hires for install techs, it was a 6-month-long process for those people to get up to speed on what we were doing. Because we would just bring them into the field every day and be like, hey, learn a little bit more, learn a little bit, and they would learn by doing, which is great, okay? There's nothing better than learning by experience. However, since core values have come into place and systems and processes have come into place, now we hire a technician, they come into the office for a week first. The first day is spent on talking about company core values and why we believe in them, going over our documentation processes for what they're doing in the field, and then training on the individual products that we are paid to professionally install. Then they go out into the field and they have, again, it's a 90-day period where we're like, all right, we're going to assess you for the first 90 days.
Right.
So now it's much more documented up front. There's much more formal training up front. So the systems and processes that were once written down in iNote and Evernote have now become training videos. And the technician is required to sit and go through these training videos. Hey, you know what? You got 10 videos you got to watch today.
Wow.
So this is where we're telling you exactly how we want things done. You know what? Let's call it a 2012 Freightliner M2. Very, very common truck that's out there in the commercial world. New guy comes in and goes, I don't know how to do that truck. Got video on it. Like we hired a videographer to follow us around as install techs, my partner and myself, for 6 months. And this guy went around and he documented us doing every vehicle in the field. We now have that library of videos. So a new guy comes in and he's like, I never seen this video before. I never seen this truck before. Okay, did you check the database where all the videos are?
Yeah.
And if you haven't, then reach out to somebody else on the team because I guarantee someone has done it.
I think this can be something. I was just when you were talking, I was thinking that this can be actually something huge that a brewery owner, if they, for example, they have a tap room, they can implement with the people who serve their customers.
Sure.
You know, like the way it is a process. You know, I used to own a bar like 9, 10 years ago, and I believe it's not very different from a tap room. You know, it's people coming, sitting down, eating. Even they order food from outside, drinking. You have to serve them, right?
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it was a mess. You know, it wasn't my sister, and she was just like serving drinks. You know, right and left. And it's like, no, there's a way to do this. You know, we need to have a process where you know how many drinks we can even take out of one bottle. You know,
Yep.
because it costs us money.
Yeah.
So I think this is something that it can be implemented
Oh, absolutely.
on
Absolutely.
how a brewery operates. If they have a
Yeah.
tap room, if it's a brew pub, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it can be implemented.
So we went down and over a course of probably 6 months or so, we started documenting all of the steps within the business. So one of the things is we document and we put down on paper what the installation technician is to do upon arrival at a job site. So now there's no questions, there's no gray areas. Hey, you arrive on a job site, you get your butt out of the car, you try to go inside and meet with the POC. POC in our industry stands for point of contact. Okay, you go, you meet with the point of contact, you establish rapport, so you actually look them in the eye, introduce yourself, shake his or her hand if they're willing. Okay, we don't know these days with coronavirus, so.
What a mess with that coronavirus, man.
You go in there, you do this, you tell them who you are, what you're there for. The next step of the process is, hey, this is my scope of work today.
Right.
Does it match up with what you have on your list? I'm here to do 10 trucks. Okay, which 10 trucks? Here's my list. Do you have the equipment? Okay, let's look through the equipment and make sure that everything was shipped to you and is in good working order and the right stuff was sent. Okay, now everything's great. I'm gonna go out into your yard now or your parking lot or your facility and do the work. And when I'm done, I'm gonna come back inside. I'm gonna be nice, I'm gonna be respectful, and I'm gonna say, hey, Mr. Customer, today we were only able to complete 7 out of 10 installs because XYZ issue popped up or this happened or,
Right.
I gotta go, whatever the case is. So that communication has to be there with that customer. And that's one of the things that we instill into our install techs from day one. Like, hey, this is exactly how we want you to do it. Is there some wiggle room in there? Sure there is, because I also believe that you need to leave wiggle room. You can't micromanage. You gotta leave wiggle room so the employee's inner genius can come out.
Right.
Because those people are gonna take what you create and they're gonna just blow it up to a better level than you could ever imagine.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think this is great information, not only for the brewery owner, but we have people that sell equipment for breweries. There's bigger breweries probably watching this right now or in the future that they already have like sales teams and more departments inside their company.
Sure.
Because they are just growing, and so they need to start adding more people into their team. So
Yep.
I think this is great information, man. I really appreciate that you're dropping all these bombs here in our first episode. I mean, it's excited, and
Thank you,
man, I really appreciate it. I think this is a lot of value.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
I think these people really needs more of this information because it's cool to talk about the beer and how great this industry is and the culture and the community and all that stuff.
Sure.
But I think right now we're in a point in time where it's time to focus on the business part since how the industry is growing extremely fast, and it's a good thing,
Yeah,
it
listen.
means it's good for the economy, it's good for everybody else.
I agree. So, in my opinion, by doing what we mapped out here today, establishing core values and a vision within your company, that's one of the things that you can do as a business owner to establish yourself as the expert or as the authority within your industry. So
Right.
if you implement this, people in your space are going to say, oh shit, you know what? I'm going to grow up and be like him one day because they got their stuff figured
Right.
out. And people are going to start coming to you and saying, hey, well, what would you do in this situation? Before you know it, I mean, listen, that's how it worked out for me. It's how I got into coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also by building the business, like the structure of the business, I was able to get ultra clear on why I was put here on the planet and what my purpose is. And that's to help other people succeed in business. And I said it day in and day out, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. But that opportunity might come to somebody else if they follow this step. So if it's something that someone here is watching and saying, hey, you know what, I would be interested in helping other people succeed in business. You know what? Fix your own shit first. Step one.
Right.
Okay, and then get successful with it, and then go out there and do it and help other people.
Absolutely, and now that you mentioned that, I think that's kind of like a little bit of the journey that I started last year actually, because I got to a moment where I was like, okay, what I really want to do, because I was learning all the marketing stuff and trying to help real estate agents and mortgage people and all that stuff, but I really wasn't passionate about it. So I found myself one day, of course, drinking a beer, and I was like, what's going on here? Let's see what's going on in this industry. And I think there's a need, and there's not a problem, but some challenges that needs to be addressed. And what better way to bring people like you, and the things that we're doing with the Marketing Brewing Company to help them generate more customers, to increase their cash flow. And what better way to do those things by starting from the foundation that is our core values as a business. So
man, I agree.
Really appreciate it. So I think we're gonna wrap it up. We've been here for almost an hour, but thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Likewise,
and I think this is gonna be, I hope you guys are enjoying this content, and this is only the first episode of many, I'm gonna declare that right now, of many, many to come. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you guys next week. And thank you, Thomas. Really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much, man.
Yep. Thanks.
And I will see you guys later. Take care.
Have a great day.
Cheers. What's going on, guys? Thank you for watching. This show was brought to you by the Marketing Brewing Company. And if you know somebody out there who can benefit from all this information, make sure you share this episode on your Facebook, on your Instagram, your LinkedIn, send it by text, email, whatever you got to do to spread the word and help us reach more people. Now, if you're a brewery owner who's ready to grow and scale your business, make sure you go to the link in the description. That's marketingbrewingcall.com. Enter your information. That way, one of my team members can reach out to you, hear more about your business, about your story, and find a way to help you grow and scale your business and take your brewery to the next level. And also, guys, if you have some suggestions, if you would like to see some special guests in the future, you can also send your suggestions to pedro@marketingbrewingcall.com. I would love to read any suggestions you may have, because the goal and the purpose of this show is to equip you guys with resources, tools, and information that can help you grow and scale your business, but also that can help you do better things in your lives. So I hope you guys are enjoying this show. Make sure you share it with everybody, and I will see you guys on the next episode. In the meantime, cheers and have a great day.